picture this with me. You wander into what seems like a totally normal shopping mall. Expecting the usual like bright lights and crowded shops, that kind of thing. But instead of, all the polished storefronts, you're hit with these walls. Walls totally covered, like completely plastered in layer after layer of graffiti.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, we're not just talking about a little tagging here and there. This is like the soul of Skopje speaking to you through spray paint. Each mark, each tag, it's like a little whisper from the city's past. And that's what we're diving into in this deep dive.
Interesting.
We're looking at excerpts from Skopjanka.txt. It's a piece of writing. And it takes the Skopje Shopping Center's graffiti and uses it, really, as a way to understand the city itself, like a reflection.
Oh, that's cool.
And here's the thing. This isn't some, stuffy academic paper or anything like that. This is something really personal. It was written by someone who basically grew up in this mall, practically lived there as a teenager.
Huh.
And now they're coming back to it after some time has passed, and it's different, Like, everything's changed. And all those faded band names and old slogans on the walls, it's like they take on this whole other level of meaning, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of like when your family drags out those dusty old photo albums for the holidays.
Yeah.
Full of, like, the haircuts we'd rather forget, right?
Yeah.
But also this, like, weirdly powerful sense of nostalgia.
Oh, yeah, totally. What I find fascinating here is how this person's story, their, personal journey, ties into the bigger story of Skopje, like the mall itself. It's built in a spot with this crazy rich history. We're talking about the neighborhoods of Ostrovo and Aerodrome.
Oh, yeah. Now that you mention it, those names ring a bell from the text. What's the deal with those places?
Okay, so get this. This area, it used to be a military airfield, like a seriously important spot right outside of Skopje.
Wow.
Then, 1963, boom, the earthquake hits.
Oh, right.
Devastation. And that airfield, the one that used to represent military strength, it gets transformed into this huge tent city, a refuge for the thousands who lost their homes. They called it Ostrovo.
So hold on. We're talking about a place that went from, military power to a symbol of, resilience?
Mm-hmm.
And now, it's a graffiti-covered shopping mall.
Exactly. And there's so much more to uncover here. Wait till we dig into the actual messages on these walls, The hopes, the anxieties, all scrawled in spray paint. You'll see how those layers of history all weave together with the Skopje of today.
It's wild, right? Like this whole shopping mall, it's like, it was always meant to be this place of, contradictions.
Yeah.
Built on this foundation of hope. After the earthquake, rebuilding, all of that.
Yeah.
But now, the way the author describes it, it's like you walk in and the first thing you see is casinos and loan ads everywhere.
Wow.
Kind of a far cry from those early days, huh?
Yeah.
There's this one part in the text that really stuck with me. The author talks about walking past those, glitzy casinos right at the entrance. But then as you go deeper into the mall, you find all these empty shops, abandoned, ghosts of businesses past. It's kind of eerie, actually.
Yeah, I can see that.
It really is like this powerful metaphor. Almost like you could take the whole scene, the casinos, the empty shops. It's like it mirrors what's going on in Macedonia today,
Yeah.
Like on one hand, you have these pockets of progress, economic growth, all that. But then there's this other side, like this, uncertainty, a feeling of trying to hold on to the past, maybe. And that's what makes the graffiti even more, meaningful, I guess. We were talking about that whole nostalgia thing earlier, but it's deeper than that now. It's like each tag, each little message, even those inside jokes scribbled on the wall, the ones only those teenagers understood.
Yeah.
They capture something specific about that time.
Yeah.
A snapshot of Skopje's journey.
It made me think of this one line in Skopjanka.txt. The author mentions this music store, Pop Top.
Oh, yeah.
It was obviously the place to be back in the day,
Right.
Like the heart of the mall. Do you remember those kinds of places? The stores that were more than just a store.
Totally. And for the author, it sounds like Pop Top. It's like this tangible link to their younger self.
Yeah.
They talk about going there every week, digging through the cassette tapes.
Cassette tapes. Anyone listening who's under 25 is probably what's a cassette tape?
Right.
And it got me thinking, how many of those places have we seen just disappear?
Yeah.
And it's not just about a music store closing, It's about the little pieces of ourselves that we kind of lose when those places are gone. It's that feeling of time passing, slipping away. And what I think is so great about this piece is it captures that. It reminds us that even these places, these giant concrete things like the Skopje Shopping Center that seem like they'll be around forever, they're really just temporary canvases.
Yeah.
They're for the stories we tell about ourselves,
Yeah.
about who we are. And those stories, they change, just like we do.
Reading this piece about the Skopje Shopping Center really got me thinking about how, like, we express ourselves through the things we leave behind, not always on purpose, right?
Oh, totally.
And the author of Skopjanka.txt brings up this interesting contrast, between the graffiti in the mall and then the street art scene somewhere else in Skopje.
Okay.
Like they were saying they saw these amazing murals around the city, the kind that just like stop you in your tracks.
Right.
But inside the mall, it's different, It's less about these big artistic statements and more like, I don't know, almost like the walls are just this giant guest book.
A guest book, yeah.
Full of these like raw, unfiltered thoughts.
Yeah.
Declarations,
That's such a good point. It's like, what is it? The difference between like a super polished statement you make to everyone publicly versus like a secret you whisper to someone.
Yeah.
The graffiti in the mall, it's more in your face, It's less about being pretty and more about like marking the moment, saying I was here.
Exactly. And when you really look at what the messages say, it's pretty wild, the variety. I mean, there's simple stuff like just the name Ostrovo spray painted on the wall.
Right.
Or even just the word corn.
Huh.
Like they're claiming their turf or something.
Yeah.
But then, right next to those, you'll find these super intense political slogans, like capitalism must fall.
Oh, wow.
It's like a crash course in teenage angst, spanning generations.
I love that. Like, this one spot, it's like the sounding board for all these different voices, these little snapshots of how Skopje's been changing. And it makes you wonder about those people, right? The ones who wrote those messages. Were they like just letting off steam, or were they trying to start a conversation, trying to leave their mark on a world that maybe felt kind of like out of their control,
Totally. There was this one message from 2007 that really got to me. It's kind of heartbreaking, actually. Someone wrote, "Don't destroy our works. Thank you." It's like you could practically hear it in their voice, that desperate hope that somebody, anybody, would see what they did and understand, recognize, I don't know, the value in it, even if it doesn't last.
It makes you think, doesn't it? About all these places, the ones we might just see as like ordinary or even kind of rundown. But really, they're full of these hidden stories, these glimpses into people's lives, like the Skopje Shopping Center with its layers of graffiti. It's not just a mall, right?
Right.
It's like this unintentional archive of emotions, hopes, frustrations, all captured in spray paint.
It really makes you wonder what stories are hidden in plain sight, right? Like right in our own cities, in the places we walk by every day without even thinking twice. Maybe it's just about looking at things in a new way. Being open to hearing the stories that these places and these walls have to tell.
Absolutely.
And that's what this deep dive is all about. Thanks for exploring with us.